Watercolors are available in both tubes and pans, and I want to dispel a little myth about that because sometimes people think that pans are of lesser quality, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. I think maybe because a lot of us start using watercolor as a little kid, and they come in little pans, and they're often cheap little sets, and they crack and fall apart. So I get why people might think the tubes are a better quality. That's absolutely not the case. They are made with the same care, the same attention, and same quality. They're just coming in a different form for you. And that really relates to the context in which you might use them. So sometimes people who like to work larger or work in the studio, they'll use tubes. People who like to be on the run like I do, like to go out and urban sketch or plein air paint, they might like pans because they're a little bit more portable and easy and you don't have to worry about a cap and all that sort of stuff. So let's take a look at both of them. Here's one of the Winsor Newton professional watercolor tubes. This actually happens to be permanent rose. And I'll put a little bit of that out. This will come in tube sizes 5 milliliter and 14. And if I get my brush a little bit wet, I can really let out a whole lot of color all at once. So if I want to make big marks, I can really do that on my watercolor paper. And then if we look at pans, the pans will come in these little individual packages, so you can buy them in what would be called open stock, just individually, or you can buy them in sets. And this is one of my, you can see it's a pretty well-worn watercolor set. And if I take that same brush, just make sure that's cleaned off. See, we'll pick up a different color. And this is a phthalo green. And so we're not gonna lay out the same volume of color, but that still starts to move quite nicely. And again, once I'm done with something like that, I can simply close up the set and I'm ready to go. Now, the other thing I want to mention about tubes and pans, sometimes I've come across students in the past who will want to make their own pans. So they'll squeeze out the tube into a little container and let that dry. You can do that, that's totally possible. But I just want to warn you about a few things that might happen, and then you can decide for yourself whether that's an issue or not. The pans are formulated to re-wet more easily. And so if you put the tube color into the pan and let that dry, you might have some cracking that occurs, and you might also find it's really hard to pick up the color. So you're gonna have to scrub at it with a brush, and that's going to maybe affect your brushes and break them down over time. If that's not a big deal to you, nothing to be concerned about. But be aware of these things, so if you do decide to make your own pans, you're aware of what the limitations are.